Good evening to see you at the weekly webinar with Dr. Florinela Stoianovici with a lot of questions. And, of course, hope from those who follow us, because holistic medicine comes with hope. With faith in healing and very concrete solutions. Thank you for meeting Dr. Florinela Stoianovici. Let's share our webinar on all pages. And let's start talking already, because there's never enough time for how much information our followers want. How can we access information about the disease, but also about the cure, both as a patient and as a doctor?
It's very simple as a patient. I don't know if you know, certain people have that inner feeling that they are sick. They know in advance that they are sick. I had the case of a patient who came to me today and who came before cervical cancer was discovered, even a month or so, I think a month and a half, after a long time of not seeing each other, I met her father, who was a very spiritual person and has since died, and she somehow came to me. And after a month of treatment, she came, I think, twice or 3 times, even with her daughter. She suddenly discovered a cervical cancer that is not very complicated, but she has this diagnosis of cervical cancer, and today I asked her why she thinks she came with a month or so before, and he actually told me that he felt he had something. He felt that something was wrong, and that's what I was saying, that patients can feel the disease beforehand, or they can also feel that they are healing. I had a patient who wasn't feeling well at all. And I want to make the comparison now between 2 patients. So one patient, she said, "Doctor, I was in treatments. And infections were coming out, and there were problems, and she didn't feel well. There were pains when I took out some kidney infections, which are not very big, but anyway a patient is disturbing. She would say to me, 'Doctor, I have some things after I leave you, but they are not big and I know I am healing, so this is what I feel I am healing.' And another patient said to me, 'Doctor, what am I doing?' He was twice at my place. He said, 'I can't do anything at all when I come home from work. I have to go to bed, I sleep, I'm sleepy and I don't understand, is it worse or what's going on?' And I told her, actually, that she was healing. She didn't perceive that she was healing, actually, because normally the body, when it gets energy, it starts self-healing processes, pulls over, and that's when you get sleep. To sleep to heal, that is, he asks you for a break, say wait, once I can do my job to heal, and the moment I explained this, he calmed down and was able to receive these things with joy, because these things must be welcomed with joy.
Can you give us an example related to a case that shows how this situation is reflected in the energy body, in which an emotional or psychological problem from the past settles in our body and we feel it or we do not feel it? Yes?
Yes, here to this question that you told me, I would like to give this example, and then I would like to continue, to say as a doctor how it sees, because I told as a patient, but I also want to tell as a doctor. But let me give this example. You should know that patients in general are very emotional and are not spiritually prepared at all. There are very few of them because these diseases come here on earth. It is precisely for this preparation. We are in a very strict school of spiritual development, where low grades leave with diseases and very low grades leave with cancers, and grades of 0 and 1, 2, leave with death. That's what it looks like. I mean, it's demanding school. But we must learn to overcome. We need to access this spiritual power and wisdom and understanding. And that's why we have to call a doctor, because what I feel, and this example I gave before, that the patient is a person who feels certain things, must also be confirmed by a doctor. And then let me tell you how it appears to the doctor. It's a little bit more, if you allow me to elaborate. As a doctor, we know that disease occurs on a subconscious level. We have here, for example, we have 2 images, the subconscious and the top, the conscious. The conscious part is the mind and subconscious. It is that part of us that we do not have access to, that is, we cannot work with our subconscious, that we do not know how to do it. Psychologists work on a subconscious level, we'll see, holistic medicine, you'll see that they work on the subconscious level. Theta healing, they know you're a theta healing practitioner, they work on the subconscious level. Because at the subconscious level, we access theta waves, and that's why it's called theta healing. So, because it heals in the subconscious, it works and heals the disease at the subconscious level, that is, in the bud. When the disease is in its infancy, we can heal it there, if not it gets here, on the conscious level in the form of illness, and we must begin to act on the subconscious level, not let it reach the subconscious level in the form of illness. Now you have to know that it appears, as I said, at the subconscious level, and this subconscious that you see here is from the unseen world and represents 90%. This part of the iceberg is 90% noticeable, the massive part, the part of the ocean, the part we don't have access to, imagine, and basically the rest, the conscious part, the top with the mind. It is only 10%, and in fact the whole process of illness and healing has to do with these layers, that is, with the passage of information from the subconscious. If you do not want to do this voluntarily, you do not take courses, you do not develop, you do not start working in your subconscious, then this problem, this disease arises, it is passed from the subconscious, and this wrong pattern goes from the subconscious to the conscious in the form of disease, but it arrives in a forced, brutal way, like a cancer diagnosis, for example. Or with a diagnosis of stroke, or as, for example, an Alzheimer's disease or a myocardial infarction, or arrive with, say, an epidural hematoma, or arrive as an aneurysm or miscellaneous. And then a disease is, what is actually a disease? Disease is a process, natural attention, it is a natural process of human evolution, of passing information. Negative that is not good from this unconscious, so from this unconscious part passes through the subconscious. Inconscious to mind, and its processing that awareness requires us to understand it. So, in other words, disease is natural, so we don't have to shy away from disease. We must understand it and we must prevent it. The cure with which medicine deals is, what is it? It is the spiritual leap of understanding what that information that will lead to illness represents, that is, where the error is, that is, the message of the disease, which is in the subconscious, attention, and is followed by transformation. When it reaches the conscious level of the patient on this topic, that is, it does not mean that the patient comes to the doctor and medicine more holistic than we are aware of what the problem is, but we do nothing about it. That it is the same, so we, in addition to awareness, must also work, change this, that is, change the cause. That is, to understand the universe that we have made the leap and to stop the phenomenon of illness or death. And I want to give another brief example here, if possible, and then go on and then take questions. Do you want us to take questions?
I say let's take these things, that we started the explanation, and anyway, in the meantime, maybe those who follow us and who are more and more increase their number, maybe they send us other questions. I have a number of questions from those who sent us beforehand, but fill in.
So as human beings, we have a psyche, so made up of these two broad categories. I want to clarify with this part, conscious, subconscious and unconscious, that we have three and also had superconscious, and let's work a little bit, understand what they look like, how holistic medicine explains their conscious part, so this top part is called ego, or mind or psychic personality. For example, perfectionists, dominators, and so on, are in the conscious part, the mind develops such personalities and represents, I was saying only 10%. The tip of the iceberg, and which encompasses the rational aspects, the analytical and logical aspects of the mind, there instead we can understand the cause of the disease. So that's where we have the possible analysis. We have the place where we can understand in the conscious part. At birth, I don't know if you know, we don't have a conscious mind at all. Because this conscious mind is formed, it is formed together with the mother, with the father, in the family, with the school, with society, through the books read, through the movies seen. It is formed first of all in the first 7 years, and then it is upgraded throughout life through practical thinking. So, basically, we form the conscious, that 10%. The unconscious part, of which we are not present, represents the bulk of the iceberg. I was saying that it represents 90% and has to do with the reason for the disease, so us, and it has the information about the cause of the disease, so attention, it is the place where medicine has to investigate. We go and talk to the patient in his conscious part, we ask him things when he doesn't really know. To tell us what the subconscious knows here is the cause of the disease, so we need equipment that works at the subconscious level. To discover from here the cause, because the patient does not know it, that if he knew he would not get sick. And that's where holistic medicine came in. Basically, holistic medicine works in your subconscious to understand, in fact, where this revolution is from, and it works medically, because theta healing is also a healing method, and I congratulate you and your husband. I think they worked, right? You work with theta healing, but theta healing does not currently have medical equipment to measure concretely, and it is very good, and I think it will soon have devices to measure the results of healing because they are, but they are not measurable because there is no equipment, not because they are not. And now it's very important, this part, unconscious, yes, unconscious is made up at the bottom, where it says, the subconscious is made up of two parts. 60% what you see here is the subconscious, but the remaining 30% somewhere more basic is the unconscious. And do you know what the unconscious is? It's that area of our brain that helps us function, breathe, beat our heart. That is, we operate automatically, so all processes that happen in our body are directed unconsciously, that is, reflexively. And this is the 30% area. The subconscious that you see here, which represents 60%, is the transit zone between the unconscious and the conscious that has to do with divinity, attention. The subconscious has to do with divinity, and that has God's information in us, and that's the area that classes access in the inner child. The inner child enters here at the subconscious level. This is the area where the jumps in the inner child classes occur. The subconscious pushes information of the disease towards the conscious, towards the good and spiritual evolution of the patient, and does it in a natural way. It's the way this information naturally works, which is wrong, it's kind of rubbish. About us, but there's something we don't want to see, because that's why we don't consciously take it to see it. So we don't want to see, for example, that we're bad, for example, that we're too good, for example, that we hate, for example, that we're very afraid. Or, for example, that we don't trust ourselves. We don't want to see this, and then we basically cover it with various masks of the ego in consciousness. I mean, we're starting to be different. We make an image of ourselves in front of others that is different from reality. And this reality, this truth from the subconscious, for example that we are afraid of dying, comes out at some point, into the conscious in the form of illness, because it is the truth. And because we can only live in divine truth, and then the garbage comes out, the bubble comes out to heal it, to see it and stop lying to ourselves. The subconscious basically pulls out this negative element. This lie, he pulls out to raise awareness and eliminate this garbage. This lie wears the clothes of disease. I practice holistic medicine, and I'll be shutting down soon. Holistic medicine scientifically delves into this information that the subconscious holds. And what do you think they are? And I'm going to want to show you here in a moment. What this information is like this. They are, take a look. Blocked emotions, traumas, psycho-emotional shocks from the past, emotional pain, soul pain, and collect them as medical information that it takes to the energy body. Take a look at what the subconscious contains, all our emotions, all our personal experiences, the 9 months before conception that determine our pregnancy, the 9 months. Pregnancy. That is, also the birth, the first year of our child's life and 3 previous generations. And that's why holistic medicine conceives, wants to design a program. One of our upcoming programs and courses. That besides what we have now. We have one of immunity and prevention, there will be another one of longevity, and the third will be about family, in which we will invite all families and mothers before conceiving the child to enter their subconscious in a scientific way and eliminate from there all traumas, all emotions, all information. Past generations, so that the future child no longer comes with the package with these things from the mother, and this would be revolutionary. This would lead to a change in the fate of the child and lead to the removal of future diseases of the future little boy who will become an adult. In fact, how does holistic medicine do this? How does it have access to the subconscious level, through the connection that the subconscious has with the energy body, that is, with the chakra system and meridians, because the information is at the level of the chakras. So the subconscious implements this into the physical body through chakras and meridians, and we can't go into the subconscious, but we go into its twin. That is, in his information, they are stored at the level of the energy body, where there we know how to work, where there we are experts. So, in fact, the energy body contains the information from the subconscious. And this explains why the doctor of holistic medicine goes to the cause of the disease. That's why holistic medicine knows the cause of disease, because it goes to this area, and two words say, this is revolutionary, because we can understand when, how, and in what direction the disease works, so we can follow in the footsteps of the disease. And we can stop it. The most interesting thing is that this, that is, our subconscious, is coupled to the chakras themselves. And it takes us exactly to the chakra that is blocked, because we will see in our lives, we don't all work, we work about 2 themes, usually meaning on 2 chakras. We work some spiritual themes, that is, we have a couple of more defective chakras that contain our spiritual themes. And so we can go to the target. The harmonization of them, of these chakras, of these meridians on energy layers, attention, deeper and deeper, that we are like this, we are like an onion leaf, like an onion with leaves, begins to clean up in the subconscious. I did, but I worked on myself for 2 years. I cleaned up my subconscious and eliminated everything that could appear as a disease later. And for 15 years I have not been sick anymore, but I have worked practically to the end, and thanks to this opens the way in medicine of an extraordinary perspective. Of scientists, that of cleansing the past, causing disease. Either this is science fiction, he didn't even suspect holistic medicine was going to come across, I didn't even suspect where it could end up. It could end up that we could change our fate, that is, we could change who we are, and I would like to put myself here. A quote. To illustrate this, take a look at what it says here. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it destiny. I mean, what's going on? That is, we think we're here to suffer. To get cancer, Hashimoto's thyroid, Alzheimer's, heart attack, stroke. Of multiple sclerosis, and of all autoimmune and serious diseases. But in fact, this can be avoided, mind you, if we go and clean into the deep layers all the negative information you saw before birth. From the mother before on 3 generations and so on. Which they are found at this time in medicine. I am a doctor who can find them, I can measure them, and I can eliminate them. All this is revolutionary, and that's why Alice and I went out to talk to you and, for patients to understand, but also doctors need to understand that there are ways to prevent and avoid these ailments. We have to move, we have to find to save as many people as possible, because we can save people already. And yet it is scientific through information and quantum physics apparatus and devices.
It's absolutely fascinating, it's just time-defying, so there's a transgenerational healing that goes both backwards and forwards along the timeline. Basically, we heal the past and heal the future and give a new chance to our children, our grandchildren. So it's amazing, I have goosebumps, it's just a truth that definitely shakes all of us, so I'm very happy and grateful. That I am witnessing, that I am taking part in a moment that should. And certainly, somewhere it is recorded in the history of the human kingdom.
Yes, because it's 15 years of study, so I've been working in holistic medicine for 15 years, and at the time, I made these discoveries that I'm now making public and explaining to people, patients, who understand them better than my colleagues doctors without to want to because they suffer and they know it and they come to the office, you know. But it's very interesting that I had the courage to go international and to do these outings, and I really want to announce, by the way, that we are coming to London in September, on the 23rd and 24th, and also 99%, we are coming to Madrid on the 17th of September. I am not yet 100% when I will have it next possible time. I will let you know with my mouth full of a very big result. But you know how it's okay first to happen and then to be public, and keep my fingers crossed that I have some things to do energetically, related to healing and expanding into as many places as possible. Why? We don't do this only for Romania. We do this for all people, because Romanian medicine can leave an international healing current, at a subtle level, in the subtle bodies. We are talking here about medicine that already diagnoses and heals in subtle bodies, that is, in the aura. And the aura must start slowly. It must already be seen scientifically, because it can be measured, as long as it can be measured and can be explained. It is scientific in nature, and it is the obligation of the doctor who is a scientist, to research, to work, to obtain results and then to publish them. I propose to you, my dear, that we ask some questions, then present a case, yes?
Yes, I have. People also send complicated cases, they already send analyses. There is a lot of desire for healing and many who are already coming to the holistic medicine cabinet. An easier case, I don't know if it's easy, maybe it will turn out that it's not easy. A lady who is about 44 years old says that he suffers from, not so much constipation as addiction to laxatives since his 20s. It started to take laxative drugs then, in a desire to lose weight, especially, although she suffered from mild constipation and over time became so dependent on them that she could not live without them, that is, it is therefore almost 24 years since she has been taking laxative drugs daily, and she has not managed to cure this constipation. Okay, he told me more. At one point he took a break for almost a year trying to stop taking these drugs and suffering all that year from problems with constipation. He gained many kilos, almost 10 kilos. He could not give them anymore down and returned to addiction or this habit. I don't know how serious it is or how little serious.
It shows a very large blockage of the body, especially if it is 20 years old, so in addition to this constipation she risks a chronic disease. Even an autoimmune disease, because we are talking. The colon is a filter. The human being is a machine and the human filters are colon, kidneys, liver and skin. The moment a filter is blocked for 20 years it is clear that the others are also blocked, because they are in chain. I mean, I want to tell you that energy goes from the colon and vice versa, from the liver to the colon. That is, it has a very big connection with the liver. There is no pathology of the colon without liver disease. So automatically I can say that the lady from the start has an old liver pathology and also a pathology in the colon. What does colon mean? It means a lot of heartache piled up. That is, she is a person who tightens the pain of the soul with the crumb. I mean, her way of being, I don't know if you know her or if that's the case. Her way of being is to be more sensitive, to take to heart, especially in relation to others, that is, all her interaction. Let the lady write to us, if she is somehow here with us, to give us a feedback. Everything she does around her, she does as she does, and in the end she gathers heartache. I, for example, am a person who I am no longer impressed by what is happening around me very much. I mean, I work to stop impressing myself. That's not to say I'm not empathetic. One is empathy, but exaggerated empathy, meaning spiritual suffering for everyone around, especially since I am a doctor and I consult many people. I consult patients with serious diseases. I consult patients including children who die. I consult difficult situations. There are many cases in front of my eyes. What it would mean. What if I gathered heartache like DNA? It would mean that I wasn't even at this hour at 100,000 or hundreds of thousands of hundreds of patients consulted. I don't know exactly how much I don't know anymore, but I gave approximately. So I have a detachment, and then the lady actually, her lesson, her spiritual theme, is to learn to be detached from reality, even if they are also her loved ones, because they are no longer. It can help when he gets sick, that now he is a person who cannot eliminate. That what happens, the feces he doesn't eliminate, that's what constipation means, is the past he doesn't want to part with. They represent old lessons from the past, which are not good, old sufferings. That means when we don't eliminate toxins, we keep them inside us, longer than we should, understand. And then I recommend the lady to clean up. They need to do detoxification urgently. At the level of the colon, at the level of the lung, both with plants and energetically. I invite her to the clinic and I tell you that not only does she solve this colon problem, but it is possible that already in the energy dance field and at the level of chakras and meridians, on energy body, to appear already the premises of a disease. That is going to occur if it is not already, and then we can prevent that disease. It's really necessary. You can't sit for 20 years with constipation and not solve it. You can't do that. You're not allowed.
Yes, he replied that he was indeed a sensitive person who had suffered a lot. He says, but I worked pretty myself and solved most of the problems, but the constipation stayed there. He didn't solve it anymore.
This means that she has not worked hard enough, that she is not aware of how many she has.
Yes, definitely.
Patients call me, you know, you're a perfectionist and a critic. I know, I worked, but now I'm not. And I say, if you weren't, all this wouldn't appear here. And he says, does that mean I still have to work? Yes, but you have a measure. Do you know when you're ready? Not. Well, you see. I mean, let's see how much work we do. I've worked and you think I haven't. Well, go to a specialist, to measure you, to tell you if you're still working. Maybe you've only done a quarter and it feels like you've done everything.
How do you propose if you want to take another question or?
Well, I guess we can't take a question anymore. I'd better like to show a case. To see if I can handle it here, because it's very difficult, because I'm a doctor, I had to learn IT. I'm going to try to show a case. Right away, let's see.
Until you find, confirmed us. The lady with that pain related to her back, which was activating, so she woke up in the morning refreshed, but she was active in stressful situations. She really says, I am worried about a professional situation and I have dissatisfaction at work, so she confirmed us, she confirmed exactly what you asked her. You have.
So that's what it's all about. And what do we need to do now? Let her come, if she wishes. Of course, if she wants, she can come. Let's see now, let me show the case of a patient. I would like to show you here in the case of a patient that, by the way, today I had some sensitive people. Yes, it was twice I think I had some sensitive people. This is what the energy body of a sensitive person looks like. I want to tell you that normal colors are gray here. I mean this red that you see, yellow and dark blue are not good. And what do we observe? A patient is 63 years old. She is a very sensitive person, from abroad. She came in 2022. I remembered this case because she has scheduled herself now. Recently, she will come again to Romania. She comes from abroad and came to us. She called. She is a slightly injured person. I mean, just like I said before, that is, everything around her impresses her and is so considered. This sensitivity is considered an asset. She's so long. How much you balance them is an asset, that you can be a writer, you can be a poet, you can act, you can be an artist, she can be in femininity, but if you keep her in check. But if you are a person who is too sensitive, you are too easily hurt, too vulnerable. You mean that you have a blockage, and you have a blockage in the emotional pattern at the adolescent level. That is, it is possible that during adolescence you had some emotional shock and you were stuck, and there is no maturity from adolescent to mature woman. And that's why you have to go and take femininity classes, see there too. And I recommend in such situations look how bad it looks, so look, heartache in the large intestine, colon, and small intestine, notice which, by the way through treatment you notice the small intestine has resolved in the second part, blockage in the liver, blockage in the kidneys in the back. On red, blockage on the legs, blockage in the uterus, blockage in the lower bladder. Blockage in the heart, blockage in the neck, blockage up. That's what a sensitive woman looks like. It's not good, we have to be in balance and then, look. I started the treatment, she came and I already managed to clean some things. I don't know, now I'm curious to see after a year how it comes. Very important, the spiritual leap that she has to make, which I am waiting for and working with. But we have this impediment that rarely comes, is that she has to become unfeeling, to learn, to train, that is, to stop caring. If until now, until I reached this level, every time I was impacted, I detached, I learned detachment, that is, I left the person who was with problems. I would give her some advice and then I wouldn't go to drive her, to solve her problem because she wasn't mine. It was hers and she had to solve it herself. I'll get out of here, we're fine now, see you.
See you, we're very well, yes. If you want to draw some conclusions, I propose you for today evening and necessarily to launch an invitation to them. You see how interesting discussions are, lives change unexpectedly, even people who hadn't heard of us. God brings them here to receive healing. We will see each other next Wednesday, definitely the doctor. Florinela Stoianovici, Holistic Med Clinic are the names I ask you to look for. What conclusion do we have for today's evening?
The conclusion is that medicine has evolved so much and I am an example, one of the examples of doctors who ventured scientifically to enter an area of quantum physics, that is, an area of scientific research, where, with the help of very interesting devices that they can measure at the level of the chakras, they can measure the patient's electric field, and electromagnetically, they can measure also information from the subconscious through its analogy with the energy body. Regulation of meridians and chakras leads to the release of emotions and traumas from the subconscious and can heal people, and therefore, if you are somehow healthy, you should contact your doctor to prevent and find out. What diseases follow, that is already seen. So we open a kind of book, but we are not clairvoyants. We are scientists, we open a kind of information book at the level of the energy body, where the prognosis is also seen. That is, one can see what diseases follow. We should not be afraid because they will appear anyway. And then rather than let them be and get sick of them, that some people say, I don't want to see them, that I don't want to see something like this, I don't want to see a heart attack coming. Well, if you don't want to see a heart attack coming, then wait to get it. The problem is that it's serious and your family will suffer, you will suffer and maybe you won't survive and maybe you want to know in advance. And so little by little with courage, because it's about your life, you have to make your way for the doctor. Also, people who are already sick with chronic diseases and autoimmune diseases need to understand that holistic medicine has an advantage over other medicines. That's allopathic, ordinary. In which I am also authorized, because I am a doctor, specialist, mayor, but I went to this part of research. Because I was not satisfied with the devices with which ordinary medicine works. Which are performing, but don't show me this side. Look, causal, and then let's find the cause of disease at the level of the energy body. We have chances to cure chronic and autoimmune diseases. I'm talking about Hashimoto's thyroid, I'm talking about ankylosing spondylitis, I'm talking about multiple sclerosis, I'm talking about vitiligo, I'm talking about psoriasis, I'm talking about Alzheimer's, all these diseases, dementias, Parkinson's, all these serious diseases. Which at this time we do not cure in ordinary medicine, and if we have the slightest chance, 1% to cure them is worth trying, and I come here and tell you that I have studied and I have results, and then it is worth coming at least to see what. It is about diseases with diagnosis, with a serious prognosis, We should not be scared because there are very high chances of cure. And then what should we do first to find out the cause of the disease? When we have the cause of the disease, the process of stopping cancer has begun because you have aware and you start working, and at that moment that's the best way to stop. But you have to go and see in your energy body what triggered it and locally, because, for example, breast cancer has a big problem on the lungs, and guess what? The lung overlaps exactly the breast from an energy point of view. And then, if you clean the lung, you have already made a sudden cure for breast cancer. That is, you have raised the vibration and tumor cells disappear, so there are very high chances of cure. That's why I'm telling you, and the conclusion is that we need to start reading. And also, I earnestly ask you to share, because there are people at this hour like the gentleman who called or sent you with that polyp, who don't know about us, and those gentlemen, ladies or gentlemen may have a right to know in order to have a right to life. And that is why I ask Alice and I from the bottom of my heart to share, to be able to help them hear as many names as possible, and each through his free will access it or not.
Thank you, Dr. Florinela Stoianovici. See you next Wednesday at 20:30 Romanian time. Until then, in the interactive medicine group with Dr. Florinela Stoianovici, we answer questions. Send questions because the doctor has answers for everything, and healing comes for all of us. Thank you for another absolutely extraordinary evening. I hug you all.